Yeah, and I think we are good to go. We're recording. Everybody can see my screen okay, I'm hoping. Yes. Great. And this is all I've done is literally just clone down the repo like I showed you all in the project kickoff. So Kelly, take it away.
Yeah, so what does the audience think the first thing we should do is? Curious.
I lied. I also ran bundle install.
Okay.
So after bundle install.
I was expecting a bundle install. So after bundle install, what do we think we should do first to get us going?
Create our migrations or set up our database.
Okay, set up our database. What do you think, Jameson?
DB create kind of thing.
Yep.
I have one from a previous assessment.
All right, so where are we now? Let's see, we've created. What do we think the next step is? I'm just gonna have you do a few first steps. Thinking back to yesterday.
I mean, for me, it was reading through the user stories to kind of see what was going to be expected of me, I guess.
We could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Yeah. That's always a great idea. Absolutely. So for story, let's see, story 1, the studio index. As a user, when I visit the studio index page, I see each studio's name and location, and underneath each studio, I see the titles of all its movies. So it seems like we're getting ready to build our database out. Let's see. Do we start doing that, Jameson?
Sure. And I'm just going to minimize this back to where we can see kind of the relationship layout here.
Absolutely.
And I'll let you direct me with what to do first.
No, don't let me direct you. We have to do this together. Okay. Pair programming.
Well, with story 1, we have studios and movies, right? So those are probably the first things we want to take care of.
Absolutely, yeah. So let's go ahead and get our studios and movies set up.
So are we good with the name Create Studios for?
I'm good with that name.
Well, let's see. I also remember in the instructions it said some of the initial migrations and model setup has been done for you. So maybe we should look at the schema.
Yeah, let's check at the schema first.
Ah.
Okay, yeah. So we've already got studios and movies. So the ones we do need, we have movies have a title, creation year, and genre. Studios have a name and location. So on our schema, what's that look like again? Yeah, perfect. Let's see, we have our name and our location. For movies, we have the title, the creation year, and the genre. Do we want to go ahead and fill it out with actors, since we know we do need to have actors?
Sure. So maybe we do create actors. And then I always forget, is it name string? Does that look right?
Name string looks like, yeah, name string, I believe. We'll find out.
Yeah, it will tell us. Okay.
Okay, we need age and we need, that's it. All right. Looks good.
How do you feel about adding timestamps, Kelly? Do you usually add those to
I do usually
everything?
add timestamps, yeah.
Well, then let's do it.
I think that's a great point.
So then if I migrate this, here's our schema.
Migrate always feels like so nice to me. It's complete. All right, very good. So still thinking about our first user story. As a user, when I visit the studio index page, I see each studio's name and location. So that's sort of the first part of the first user story. So we probably need to think about where the studio index page is going to be and is located. Yeah, absolutely, in our views. And thinking about putting each studio's name and location on there.
Okay.
So
Do you
how-
want me to
what?
create, do you want me to create something
Yeah.
in the views directory or in the spec directory first? Which way do we want to take this?
How do you usually prefer to do it, actually, out of curiosity? I always do the views first, but I feel like that's a holdover from being a front-end developer first.
Interesting. I think we could do it that way, but would you feel good about maybe test driving this and starting with a feature spec?
Yeah, let's do that.
So maybe I can like touch spec features studios.
Mhm.
And then this is a index, right?
Great.
Index spec. Oh, I need to make the directory first, don't I? Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
No,
Sorry.
this is why I love doing this though in front of everyone, is because they see that everybody forgets sometimes. You have to be like, oh, right, that. The important thing is that you can get to that answer now.
Absolutely. So now I can make my file.
Yep.
Cool. Screen management wise, maybe I pull this over here and put the README on the right. Does that work for you?
Looks great.
Sweet. So here's our first user story, and how should I start this file in your opinion?
What do we think from the audience? Any ideas? Oh yeah, Antonio.
Yeah, just require Rails helper and then start writing an RSpec describe, probably for the studio index.
Cool.
And then I might copy and paste the user story in there as well, just so you don't have to keep referencing.
I love that idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's something that I don't do, but I now will do.
For the time being, I'm just going to give us more real estate here.
Cool.
So it does something. What do we want to describe that? Like, how do we want to define this it block?
Any suggestions?
So maybe I guess we could do like it displays all the studio names and locations. This is just like you're navigating, Kelly. So tell me if you disagree. But I think it would be cool to maybe have like we have one assertion or like one it block for the name and location, and then maybe another one for it displays all the studio's movies. Yeah.
And do we want to go ahead? We're only doing user story 1 right now, so we don't want to move ahead. Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And let me just review, make sure that covers everything in the first user story. Displays all the studio's names, locations, all the studio's movies. Perfect. All right. I think we're good there. So let's go back to our view.
Okay. Well, we should probably make a view, right? And this is going to be the same situation with we need a directory. So app use studios. Yeah.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
Studios index HTML ERB. Cool.
Okay. So thinking about our views. Does anyone have a particular thing you'd like to start with their views? One thing that I always was told to start with my views, and I'm really interested to hear what you think, Jameson, is to do it like have a boilerplate almost of the usual HTML. So like the doc type, HTML. Do you usually do all of that in your views?
I tend to rely on, can I even find it with my fuzzy finder? Application HTML. I tend to rely on this like big starting point to do the doc type and the head tag and body and all that stuff. So I think we're covered. But it wouldn't I think it would be a good idea to maybe have a header on each of these views so that if we go to the browser later and do some browser driven testing, we can quickly see what page we're on and make sure it's the right one.
That's a great idea.
Cool. So maybe like an H1 would be most semantic. What would you like to call, what do you want to call this page like for the user to see?
Let's see. So this is the, hold on, sorry, I should just have the user stories just there. Okay. The studio index page. So why don't we call it, I mean, we could call it studios. We could call it list of studios. List of studios. Yeah. Okay. All right, and now we need to make sure that we can pull, or we can talk to the database and get it onto the page through templating. Anyone have any suggestions for that?
Antonio?
Okay. Oh yeah, Antonio, there we go.
Yeah, I was just going to comment. For me, it's usually easier to work in the spec file and like kind of write out the test and allow the what is it, the error messages to drive, because I think now that we've created the HTML, we're probably not going to get an error message that the HTML wasn't created. So I think going off of the user story, I like to put, visit the studio index page, and then maybe expect page to have information, and then run an RSpec. And then I think it'll probably prompt us to create a route.
Yeah, I like that idea. And I think to build on that, maybe the simplest thing we can do for the studio index to start, because we have this index HTML with a header, we could visit and expect that like this shows up maybe and go from there. What do you think, Kelly?
I think that's a great idea.
All right, so if we have expect page to have content, give it a string, list of studios. I'm gonna exit, I'm gonna skip that test for now. Cool. Are we good to run this test, or anything else you'd like to throw in there, Kelly, before we start running?
We're good to run it.
Let's do it. Okay. Spec features. All right. So what do we do here?
Any suggestions? I know some of you love testing.
Go create the route.
Oh.
That sounds good to me. So we would want, well, let me look at our error again. No route matches, get studios, right? So and yeah, what controller do we want this to go to?
For the controllers, did they set up places for them in this? I don't remember. Or do we need to create our own?
Doesn't look like they set them up.
Yeah. Okay, so let's make our first controller.
Okay.
How do you usually name them, Jameson? Like your convention?
As simply as possible.
Sounds great.
I think for these ICs, whatever we have called them in the README is probably a safe name to call your controller. So that would be for here, studios controller. An exception in my mind might be with like the current project, having something called applications could get very confusing because there's also an application singular controller, right? So I saw some people name things differently, and I think that that can be a good idea. So this would be studios, and we're doing an index. So would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
All right, let's run the test.
Okay.
Okay, so uninitialized constant or unable to load constant studios controller and expected this exact path to define it. So we would need a class studios controller from application controller.
All right. How do we feel, everybody? How do we feel so far?
I just wanted to mention that, so had we not made the HTML page, I think our error right after this was successfully passed, the next error would have been to create the HTML page. So it would have prompted us to do that.
Yeah, good point. Maybe that would be something we could do with like another view. If we get to user story with a different page, maybe we can walk through that, debugging that error that pops up.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Cool. Okay, so
all right.
This is great. We have our list of studios header, but what do we actually want to be testing in like this line 4 block? What do you think I should add here?
Any ideas?
Studio names.
Cool. So tell me more. What about studio names?
Expect page to have content. So we need a list of, create some instances of studios.
So we can do studio. And Kelly, could you remind me what these have? Like, what do I need here? What attributes?
Oh, I'm sorry. My headphones kind of beeped. What'd you say?
Oh, I was asking what attributes a studio has.
Oh, yes. Okay. They have. Why can't I? Hold on. I just had it pulled up. I had it right here. I was not going to touch it. And now it's been touched. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to change the page from it.
Okay.
I was looking for something related.
Yeah, Ezzy.
Yeah.
Name and location.
They have a name and a location. Cool. Thank you. Name, I'll just say universal. Location, I don't know, Texas, just for fun.
Right here. Okay.
Okay, cool. So we have a couple of these, and then I think where we had started to go, somebody can shout out if I'm off here, but we were expecting the page to have the content of the names. So maybe like one expectation for Studio 1 name, and then how do I do this again? Yes, Studio 2 name. How do we feel about this test?
I'm happy with it.
Okay, cool. Then we'll run it. Expected to find text universal in list of studios.
Okay.
So out of curiosity, Kelly, how would you like follow this error? Expected to find this text, but nothing is there. Yeah, where would you start solving that?
So I think that I would think, okay, well, what do they expect to find there, and how can I get that on the page? How can I get it so that the test can read that it's there?
I guess if we're dream driving, we could imagine that we could like do a rendered tag and say,
Mhm.
or sorry, a non-rendered tag, because we don't want to print out the return value of
Right.
each, but we could do studios. And then what we want rendered is just the name, right, at this point.
Let's see what happens.
Define method each for nil class. So my studio on line 4, every time it's hitting this, it's saying, or sorry, on line 3, it's hitting this and saying, I have no idea what @studios
Yeah.
is. So where would we define that?
Any ideas? Ezzy?
The the studios controller create an index action, well, index method, and @studios equals studio.all.
Thank you. One thing that's I think is really interesting that I didn't notice until just now, we did this in a different order than I would normally do it. And as you pointed out, we didn't have an index action, but Rails was able to infer when we visited studios and we had this route set up to studios index that I wanted, that Rails somehow figured out, oh, we want you to render the index view, and the test passed. So I thought that was cool, an interesting thing.
Yeah.
But we don't have to get into that.
That is
Probably
cool,
just by convention, probably, I'm guessing, is how Rails figured that out. Okay, are we ready to run this test again?
Let's do it. All
Okay,
right,
looks
good.
great.
Good enough.
So then we also want, I guess now would be a good time probably to unskip this. And we want it to display all the studio's movies. So I'm going to copy the test setup that we already have, if that's all right. What else are we going to need for this?
Let's see. Let's look at the user story again. We are going to need the name and location, so the location. And underneath each studio, we will want a title of all of its movies.
Cool. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. We actually need to be testing the locations as well as the name. So I'm going to just duplicate this a couple more times. I'm going to make this say location, and this should be studio 1. It should also be location. Okay, so I'm going to run that just to be sure I didn't break anything. I don't think we actually put this in our view, so we should do that.
Yeah, we'll need to, because we're going to have to go back and.
So we are back to green there.
Awesome.
Okay, and so then Kelly, I think you were saying the next thing we would need is movies, right? So
Yes, underneath each student. I mean, studio.
Studio, yeah. Gotcha. I think there are maybe a couple ways we could set up these movie objects in our tests. I don't have a strong preference. What do you think we could do here?
Yeah, I don't really have a strong preference either. We could do like studio 1 movie. Yeah, I was gonna say put movies there.
Create it through the association, right? So then we would have, these have a title, a creation year.
Right, creation. They
Genre?
also have, yes, genre, title, creation year, and genre.
Cool. So let's see, Harry Potter. I don't know.
It was like, yeah, sometime around then. Fantasy, adventure, yeah, adventure.
Cool. All right, so maybe Studio 1 has like one more movie, and then Studio 2 has a movie. Does that seem reasonable?
That seems right. So Studio 1. Or you got one? Okay, Shrek. Oh, there we go, Shrek.
Yeah, throw movies at me, please, because I have not watched a movie in so long. What should we do for Studio 2 here?
Let's do, no, we're not good. Let's do Black Widow. It just came out. I couldn't think of a sports movie. I was trying to think of a sports movie.
Action.
Yeah, action.
Cool. And then we probably want to assign these to variables too. So I'll say movie 1, movie 2.
Then 3.
All right, so now we have our 2 studios. We have 3 movies, 2 for Studio 1 and 1 for Studio 2. We're visiting the studio's index, and then what do we want the page to have?
We expect the page to have content, and then we would do like studio or movie 1 dot name or dot title, I guess it would be.
And we're only expecting the title from these, right? Maybe I'll make this more specific.
Yeah.
Displays all the studio's movie titles. Cool.
Yeah, I like that.
And then we also, this is an index page, so we want to see information about both of these studios, meaning we want to have the titles of the movies for each of them. So we want all 3 of these movies to be displayed, right?
Absolutely.
Cool. I'm pretty happy with this test so
I'm
far.
happy with this. Yeah, let's
Right.
run it.
Okay, so we do not have our movie title.
All right, how are we going to get our movie title? Well, looks like we need more templating. So in the user story, it's underneath each studio. I see the titles of all of its movies. So we need to, underneath the studio name and location, put some templating for the movie names.
So, question for you.
Mhm.
Do you think well, it is red green refactor, so maybe we do some nested iteration here, but do you think should we go and do like studio.movies.each do and do something like this? Or is there maybe a way we can avoid the nested iteration?
I was thinking about that because nested iteration can be such a pain, but it is so good when it works.
Maybe for the sake of time, we just do it this way for now, and then if we have time at the end, we can refactor. You're right. I think it can be a pain, but maybe it's not the worst thing in the world right now.
Yeah.
And then this should be singular, my mistake. Okay.
Right.
And we want movie title here.
We want movie title. We want, yeah, it's just the titles of all the movies is all that's in user story 1. So let's leave it there.
Okay. And then I think maybe here I'll do just for our visual later.
Good idea.
We can say movies made at this studio or something like that.
Can't stay away.
Cool.
All right.
I think maybe we have some opportunities to make this test even more thorough. We might have an opportunity to refactor this view, but why don't we keep going? Does that sound good to you?
All right, sounds good to me. So we want to go down to user story 2.
Yeah, let me go grab that. So with this being the movie show, we had discussed like trying to test drive this without a view to see the difference in error messages. So how about we make a directory for spec features movies? Sound good?
Great, that's perfect. Need the title, creation year, and genre for each movie's individual show page. And a list of all its actors, but we'll deal with that in a second.
Cool.
This one has quite some fun to it.
This is going to be an adventure. All right. So we said earlier that the first thing we need to do is require our Rails helper.
Yep.
Require helper.
I was gonna say, I think it's Rails.
Our spec. Oh my gosh.
You're such a whiz
It's a
at
dog,
Rails.
right?
Yeah, after I said you're such a whiz at Rails, but it's such a pleasure watching you do that.
Thank you.
You're so fast at it.
I'm really fast until I'm not, and I forget something like the dot describe. Okay, so we're describing, this was the movies show page.
The movie show page. All right. So we're going to, I love that idea about putting the user story there.
Very helpful life hack, in my opinion.
Thank you. Cool. Okay, so the first thing is seeing the movie's title, creation year, and genre. Do we want to start with just title, just testing for the title?
Yeah, I like that idea. So before we do anything, I can capture that. So expect page content. I'm assuming we're only going to be setting up one movie.
Sounds good.
Because we're on a show page, so maybe just movie.title. And then how do you want to handle the test setup? I think we could maybe just grab.
I was going to say, can we grab what we did before?
Yeah, I like that. And I think we will have to change this a bit. I'm going to do just studio and just movie.
Okay. That's a good idea.
And then what else do we need here?
We need, can I see the other page? I have to.
Oh no, you're good. Let's see. I'm gonna move. Actually, I don't think I need that
move
right
them.
now. So
Since
here
we're
we
taking
are.
so much from it, there we go. Yeah, so we need to do our visit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So studios, and then interpolating, we could do like movie.id.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
And then we should maybe call this it displays the movie title, or how about just movie attributes? Because I think we're displaying all of them.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
and
right
then,
now, yeah, because it's gonna be title, creation year, and genre, so all three.
And then I went ahead and put this here so that we don't forget to come back and like write a test for these other behaviors. And we're in a different spec now.
You gotta stop getting in the camera.
Ah, kitty.
Oh yeah, she's another one's on the floor trying to make trouble. Okay.
Well, so we get another no route matches error. And I think if we add that.
Right.
Kind of to, well, similar to how we might get a different error if we didn't have a view file. I wonder if we'll get a different error if we go ahead and define this without creating the controller file. Is that something you've ever run into, Kelly?
Yeah, let's see how it does. I think that your hypothesis is correct.
Something did not work right. What did I do wrong? I did studios instead of movies.
Oh, I didn't even catch it. Okay, there we go.
So uninitialized constant movies controller. It has no idea what I'm thinking, you know, basically what this error would say to me is that it has no idea what movies controller even is. So this here is basically under the hood somewhere saying, hey, Rails, go look for a movies controller. But that doesn't exist even with the file name of the snake case equivalent. Right. So I think that would be our next step. Yeah.
Yep. Rails is so smart.
Definitely makes our lives easier sometimes.
Yeah, it's kind of like the typing, right? It's smart until it's dumb, or until it's not smart, I guess is a better way to put it. But
yeah, exactly. So then we've seen this before. So I'm going to take the liberty of going ahead and defining that class. Interesting. So this one I don't think we've seen before. What should I do here?
Action show could not be found for movies controller, so we need to get that in there.
Okay.
I love the dirt. I was thinking, I don't remember that.
This is the error I think we were expecting.
Yeah.
I think this one looks a little scarier than it is because it goes into all this detail. Like if you expect a 204 no content, carry on. That's what you'll get from an API request. But this is just saying, I don't have a view for the thing you're routing to. So I'm going to touch. Oh, I need a directory, don't I?
Yeah.
Yes. App use. No, what am I doing wrong? This doesn't look like real words anymore. Yes, yes, cool. Sorry about that.
No, I was with you. I was like,
okay. Cool. So we should probably run our test. Expected to find text, Harry Potter. Cool. So I think maybe to stick with our theme that we did earlier, I can do an H1 and be like the movie. And oh, it doesn't work inside of tags. Bummer. I have to so much work.
that is the only good thing about front-end frameworks. A lot of them work within tags.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they are a mess next to Rails. A hot mess.
ERB tags, yeah, not the most fun to work with. So if we were dream driving this, what would you imagine the instance variable would be called for the show page?
I think it would be called movie.title, right?
Yeah, we could use the instance variable movie, and it should have a title attribute. And I'm sure this is going to fail because at movie is nil. So kind of like that each error that we got before. Yeah. So we should go define it in our show action. Kelly, how do we know like how do we have any information to help us find this movie? Where does that data come from?
Great question. I don't know why I'm blanking because I know this answer and I know that I know it. I think I need some help from the audience.
I phone a friend from the audience.
Yeah, Ezzy.
The params.
Yep.
Okay. And what key am I going to be accessing from this params object?
The ID.
Seems right to me. Sometimes we pass in additional params like query params or with arguments in our view helpers, but the ones that we tend to get for free or get because of our RESTful routes, these come from our dynamic segments indicated with a colon, right? So let's run this. All right, that one's passing.
All right. So now we need to also add on that movie show page, the creation year and the genre.
Awesome. So if we test for that, I think we can do, yeah, and then we can do genre. I want this to fail first, so I'm going to run it. Cool. So now how would I add these?
Time for templating.
Cool. Now I'm going to need two things, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And we want movie
dot, yeah. And then genre.
Sweet. A fun thing that I always find myself needing to do in Atom is come down here and actually select the HTML Ruby ERB, and then it fixes the syntax highlighting. If anybody knows how to make that automatic, I would love to know about it because I've been fighting with Adam over that forever. Yeah, how would we set this as the default? But not important right now. Let's keep moving.
Well, I was actually thinking, I feel like they used to have it on default, so I'll look.
Interesting. Thank you. Okay, so we have the movie and the attributes, title, creation, year, genre, and now we want to list all of the actors from youngest to oldest, right?
Right.
It displays the actors in the movie ordered from youngest to oldest. And then I think we should also have it displays average age.
Yeah, of all the movie's actors.
Right. How do we want to tackle this piece?
Sounds like we're going to need a little bit of logic.
Data logic, right? Maybe we can reorient ourselves with the schema.
Great idea.
What? Oh, that's not what I wanted. So what I'm noticing with this schema is that we do have an actors table, but it has nothing to do with movies at this point.
Yeah. So we are going to need to add that in.
Okay. So that to me, that sounds like a migration. So we do Rails G migration. And then how could we name this? What are we doing really with this migration?
But this one we're adding the movies that they're in.
Right. So we could say, actually, I want to be very, very thorough here. Apologies if you're already thinking ahead of me, but I'm thinking about my database design right now, and this part is all done for me. And we have actors with a name and an age. This is done for me. This is done for me. But then these last two bullet points, movies have many actors and actors can be in many movies. So with this migration, I can't say add actors to movies or add movies to actors because that would mean that we have a one-to-many if we added a foreign key. What do we need here?
What does that sound like we need?
I would like, I don't know about you, Kelly, but I would love to hear ideas from
I was
from the
going to say,
class.
I'd like to hear, yeah. That's exactly it. Okay, we have Antonio saying create movie actors.
Marla, anything to add to that? I see your hand.
Yeah, I was just going to say a join table.
Awesome. Thank you both. Create movie actors, and then I think we could do like a movie references and an actor references. Does that sound right?
That sounds good to me.
Amazing. Cool. I think maybe we have what we need from this. I want to keep that up to double check my work though. And then we have create movie actors. And this has, oh my goodness. Okay, fine, whatever. And then we can do like t.dot timestamps. In this case, it doesn't seem to me like we need anything else on this table. Does that sound right to you?
It looks good to me. Yeah, looking at.
Rails. Awesome. And now we have movie actors with a movie ID and an actor ID. Cool. Now what?
Let's see. We need to finish the test, right? Yeah. Oh no, we're still doing from youngest to oldest. So yeah, we need to finish that test.
Okay. So we'll be visiting the same page. And then I guess the other thing here would be we need to create some movie actors and some actors in order for any of this to work, right? So if we do actor.
Daniel Radcliffe is in Harry Potter.
We have a name, Daniel Radcliffe. Yes. Age, we'll say.
What is he, 30?
Probably. And then what was the other one?
Oh, Movie's title, yes. Add an actor, yes. The actors just need the movie and the age in the name.
So we have an actor with a name and an age, and then I think we're also going to need we'll need to do like movie actor create, and we'll say actor can be actor and movie can be movie.
Let's run it and see what wonderful errors we get.
Let's see what this does. I'm curious.
Me too.
An initialized constant actor. So what would we do to fix that?
Where are we going to go to initialize? Anybody?
Yeah,
make an actor model.
We need an actor model. So to do that, I'm going to do a touch app model. Amazing. Okay. We're taking this truly one step at a time. I'll run that again, and then same problem for movie actor. So I'm just gonna do this quickly.
Do it again. Yep.
Not wanted. Okay. And then I think, I think we're going to need some stuff in here, and maybe it's best to test drive the things that we're adding to these models. Yeah.
Antonio says create an actor spec as well.
Got it. All right. So we do have a models directory, and we have some model specs. So I can just go ahead and touch spec models actor spec. And while I'm here, I'm going to do movie actor spec.
Good idea.
Sweet. So, Stelper spec.describe. Here I don't need quotes because I'm just doing actor. And what is the first thing that we're going to be testing?
Probably their name.
Their name. What do we think? I think like that the attributes themselves are probably safe to assume they're tested.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do we need to associations?
Yeah.
Oh, yep. Elliot has it as well.
Yep. That's kind of what I was thinking. And here I think I'll say relationships.
I'm gonna duck a second to put my cat away because she's going crazy.
Okay, I know the struggle. We will manage. So I think we have shoulda matchers set up here. I'm going to confirm that by, yeah, we do. So I should be able to test these just fine by saying it. I think I need brackets here. So open and should have many movie actors, which sets us up to be able to say it should have many movies through movie actors. I think that's right. Very carefully, I'm going to copy this whole test and paste it here and change what I would need to change for this to be a movie actor relationship spec. So now we have has many movie actors, or no, sorry, it should belong to movies, and it should belong to a movie. Should belong to, right? Did I get that right? And then I feel like maybe we need to add something to this, right? What would we add here? And just to kind of reference. Oh man, here we go. And here we're in movie actor spec. So we should add to movie spec probably, because this does belong to a studio. We want to keep that.
Mhm.
Do you agree, Kelly, that this should have many
Yes.
movie actors?
I do.
And then that gives us the ability to have many actors. Cool. So to recap, movie actors should belong to movies and actors. Actors should have many movie actors and many movies through that association. And then movies would be the same, but in the reverse, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I feel like maybe running all the model tests just to capture all three
I
of
think
these
we
things that we
should,
added.
yeah.
We get a bunch of failures. No association called actors, no association called movie actors, and so on. I'm going to tidy this up a bit.
Hey, Jameson, we're at an hour. Do we want to take a palm in a few?
Yeah. Why don't we get these associations set up, and then we'll take a 5-minute palm. So maybe movie. What should we put here? Has the movie actors, right? And then has many
And could you explain again why you're doing like movie actors and then actors?
Yeah, I was just thinking through that right now. So we already have this belongs to studio. We're going to leave that alone. And if we think about our table that we drew in the many-to-many class, I really like this as an example, like, oops, well, if I could draw. We have a table over here where that would be like movies, because that's where we're starting. So I'll say that's movies. And then over here we have actors. And we already talked about how we can't directly connect them with a foreign key because that would inherently create a one-to-many relationship. So what we can do is use this join table of movie actors as a stepping stone between the two. And that allows us to say that a movie actor is going to belong to both of these. And a movie can have many of these, and an actor can also have many of these. And active record associations let us actually set that up as default behavior to say, hey, movie, you now have many actors, because you can kind of like, you can find how those things connect in this table in between. So yeah, that's essentially what the syntax is doing. And then that would allow us to have a very neat way of calling the associated movies and actors. Like maybe I have movie.first.actors, and I don't even have to join on the movie actors table because we have a permanent persisted joins table that active record is utilizing for these associations.
Awesome.
Makes sense to everybody? Okay. And then I think we'll need something very, oops, wrong file. We'll need something very similar in actor. I'm going to pull this over here as a reference. So now we are going to have has many movie actors and has many movies through movie actors. And that is the same exact thing that we were just chatting about, but from the other side of the diagram. Cool. How about we run the test? Oh no, what did I forget? Any thoughts? It looks like I set this up, but I didn't actually, let's see, set something up correctly in the, where are we? I never added my belongs to. That makes sense. these are singular because one row in the movie actor table can only belong to one of each of these things. So try that again.
Ta-da.
All right. Let's take a palm and come back at 10 after the hour. And if anybody needs palms more often than that, we are recording. So we'll be sure to upload this to the playlist. But see you in 5. Cool. So I went ahead and opened our feature test back up because that's where we were before. And I thought we could just really quickly knock out the rest of the feature test. But as I was thinking about that, I realized we're probably also going to need, like you mentioned, Kelly, we're going to need to test some of this data logic as well. Yeah, so do you have a preference for which we do first? You're muted.
I do not have a preference. I was just kind of talking through like, here's why I don't have a preference, but
no, it sounds great. I think maybe then we can just say, okay, we want to test that the youngest actors appear first, just to kind of like remind myself. But then if we go to the movie spec, I'm imagining that we'll call some kind of method to order the actors, right? So would that be like a class method or an instance method? What do you think?
I think it would be class method.
Yeah, because we're getting a collection, or we're concerned with all the, well, let's see. Let me read this. Displays the actors in the movie, ordered from youngest to oldest. So I think we could write a class method for actors, or we could write an instance method for an instance of movie to get ordered actors. But we're already in the movie spec, so maybe that's the route we take because we're just already here.
Yeah, since we're already there, yeah.
All right, instance methods. And then we said we want, this is going to be called on, I'll pseudocode it so that we can, so movie dot, whatever the method is called. What do we want to call that method? Like, we're getting a list of actors in a movie ordered by age.
Actor age, would that be?
Cool. Maybe even actors ages.
Yeah.
Cool. So then I think what we would want here would be like maybe an array of actors, and we want it to equal something. And the nice thing about an array is that it's inherently ordered, right? Like the order of the array is always going to be the same. So we would want the movie actors' ages to be an array, and maybe we want that array to be different from movie.actors. Because after we call this method, they should be in a different order, right?
Right.
Cool. And this seems like a good starting point. Okay. Who else is in Harry Potter?
Hermione, what's her? Emma Watson.
Cool. Actor 1, we've got actor 2, Hermione Watson. And we should probably have different ages so that they can be sorted, right? Can we make something up? Maybe like, I don't know, 28?
Sure.
Cool. How about one more? Is who plays
Rupert Grint? Is that his? Yes, Rupert Grint.
Oh yeah, Rupert Grint.
And he's 32 apparently. Thank you, Ezzy.
Thank you for the Hollywood trivia we're getting in chat. So we have, let me think about this. So movie, we have our movies. Oh, but we don't have a studio. I need to grab that, don't I?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a studio, we have a movie, we have 3 actors, and these are not ordered. Which way do we want it? Oldest to youngest to oldest. So these are ordered randomly, right? So we would expect movie.actors to, as they are right now, the default order, I would think, would just be actor 1, actor 2, and actor 3. But after we order them, we want actor 2. And then we also have to do a couple of these to actually make these associations. Movie is going to be the same for all of them though. So
Right.
what do you think about this test?
I think let's give it a shot.
Let's give it a shot. I agree. And maybe now we can actually just run movie spec. What did I do?
That is not available in example group.
Oh yeah, this is interesting. Out of curiosity, has anybody ever run into this and how did you fix it?
Do you need an it block?
Yeah, you need an it.
Yep. This one tends to get me a lot, so I'm glad we ran into it together. And I do like that RSpec gives this very helpful. It's not available on an example group, and it even says a describer, a context block. You need an individual it. Okay, cool. So it orders the actors for that movie, or the movie, I guess I should say, from youngest to oldest age. Something like that, right? Cool. Now that's the error I expected.
Yep.
Okay, so what we do know is the name of this instance method, and we know that it's going to be an instance method, so I can say actors ages. But as far as what to put in here, yeah, what would that be?
What do we think? I'd love to hear some ideas from the audience.
We have some people here who probably solved this. Yeah, Taylor, I saw you on mute.
Yeah, you could call the order method on the actors collection and pass in age as the symbol.
Great, I like that.
Yeah, me too.
And we are able to just call this method actors because of the association that we set up on line 4. Theoretically, let's see if it works. Awesome. So now we have a model test for this method. I think that means we are safe to continue in writing our feature test, right? So now we visit the movie show page, and I just realized I need a slash. So we visit the movie show page. And then what could we use to make sure that the youngest actors appear first? Maybe if I pull it just to verify we have what I'm
Orderly.
thinking of.
Here we go, we have orderly, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great. So to appear before, and then we don't really have our same test set up with multiple actors. So maybe we could go up here to movie spec. Kelly, what do you think? Can we just maybe copy all this over?
I think so, yeah.
I don't see anything that seems like we would need to change it. So I'm just going to do that. And we want, this always tangles my brain a little bit. What do we want to appear before what? So what's the first thing we can test? We want
The youngest.
Yeah, so maybe actor 2 before actor 1. Then we want actor 1 to appear before actor 3. Yes. And I'm a fan of being extra specific in these feature tests, so I'm going to say actor 2.name if that's okay with everybody.
I think that's a great idea.
Thanks. All right. Esme, what's up?
So you didn't need to run bundle install? I didn't see that, but obviously it worked.
For what, adding orderly?
Yeah. Oh, you didn't add it?
I didn't add it. I see, I was starting to open up this file to verify that we had that installed. Have I changed anything here? That's bizarre.
That is because.
So,
Ooh, that is bizarre.
well,
I think you can run gem list orderly and then it'll show in your terminal if it's installed like globally or something too. That could be possible.
good idea. Yeah, and it looks like we do have a local orderly somewhere. I would expect that to be in the gem file lock at least, if not the gem file. But to answer your question, Ezzy, I did bundle before I started screen sharing today. So I'm guessing I had this locally by the time that we were typing out this assertion.
Yeah, it looks like from the chat
Thanks.
that most people did have to add it. So it just happened to be, this is like a Jameson specific.
I don't remember installing this globally, but I must have at some point or something. So we don't need to, hopefully we don't run into any weird issues because of that. I think we can maybe plug along. Well, this test is passing. And we saw it fail.
Yeah.
So I think I'm pretty happy with this. Should we move on to it displays the average age of all movies actors?
Let's do it.
Cool. And since, to be consistent, we did write the data logic test on the model spec before we wrote the feature test. So maybe we should do the same thing here. And I'm going to copy average age of all the movie's actors. And that, you know, in a similar vein, we're handling one movie and we're getting like something that's associated with that movie. We're doing something with that collection of the things that are associated with the movie. So maybe we could just add another instance method.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, cool. So it returns the average age of all the movies actors. We're going to need our setup. So what do we want to call this method? Any
So
ideas,
we're
Karen?
returning the average age. So it would be like, what would you suggest actually?
Average actor age?
I was gonna say maybe just, yeah, this is one of my least favorite parts.
Yeah, naming methods is tough because you want to be very specific, so it's not misinterpreted, but then if it's long, that's just a pain. I think average actor age is probably fine for our purposes, if you like that. So we would want that to equal, oh, fun, math. So maybe to make sure I'm not doing this math in my head and throwing us all off, I'm actually going to say, I'm going to try to call the average method on these three numbers. Shoot, so x equals 28, y equals 30, z equals 32.
The average, I was gonna say, it should be 30. So
yeah, I think so. How would we check this in Ruby? Y'all have been doing more Ruby than me. Probably literally everybody else on this call has been doing more Ruby than me.
For a mean average.
I think first we would need to put these in an array, right?
Yeah.
See?
Rails does have the dot average.
It's true. I call dot sum on these just to answer Marla's question in chat. And then 90 divided by 3 is 30. So that matches what we would expect with our hypothesis. I'm happy that the example we came up with here and just verified in the terminal does not like need to be rounded or
Mhm.
manipulated in any way. So I think we're pretty safe here to just say that the movie.average actor age should equal 30. And then we're going to rely on the active record that we're going to write to do this for us, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Right.
Get ready for a big decimal battle. Yeah, my favorite kind of battle. Okay, so we're in the movie spec. I'm going to go ahead and run line 27.
Taylor says that we may run into some issues with having to convert them to float. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can anticipate that. Oops, what am I doing? No. Okay, so we're going back over to the movie class. We want to make an instance method called average actor age. And then kind of following what we did for our other instance method, maybe actors average age. Well, I think we should run it and see if we run into anything.
Let's do it.
So that works. Now, to the points in the chat, I think can't get these pass out of the box active record average method because there's always turned a big decimal. Has anyone worked around that successfully? To float to convert as well. Maybe it is worth like making this a little bit harder on ourselves. And I don't know what would happen if we change this to 1. I think, yeah, I'm looking at the clock and I want to get through as much as possible. Yeah, but to just kind of address that, I think, yeah, what Marla said in chat, using .2f to convert to a float and then just test against a float. That's probably how I would handle it, at least for the scope of these ICs. But luckily, we don't have that problem right now. So let's keep moving. Cool. What should I do here, Kelly?
Okay, so we are now testing for that. So we need to, copy our, we'll just edit it. Do we need to, how much editing do we need to do actually?
I think really we can probably, sorry, thinking in my head, but we have already tested this method call. So maybe we could actually expect this to appear on the page. Does that kind of make sense in your mind? Okay, cool. So we could say expect page content movie average actor age. And to reiterate, the reason my brain went here is that this is dynamic. If I have to come through for some reason and like change the age of the actors, I am not going to be manipulating a string wherever I'm testing it. And we already have tested this behavior at a model level, so I can rely on it to be accurate.
Great point.
Okay, let me run it. Undefined method appear before. Oh, interesting. So we did have an issue with the with orderly. I'm going to quickly see if I can resolve that. Gem orderly, the quick bundle. I must have run the wrong test earlier or something. But now if I run just this one, so if I just run this, get around the orderly issue. No. Could not locate content, earlier content on page, Emma Watson. Okay, so this is interesting. We have something else to debug. Yes, Brian.
Error.
Oh, no, never mind. I see. Wait.
So on line 30.
No method error. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just kind of reading out loud. What were you saying about the no method error?
I was also reading out loud. Caused by no method error, undefined method.
Yes. So we have, let's think about this for a second. studio, create movie, actor 1, actor 2, actor 3. Then we have 3 movie actors. We are associating the correct movies and actors. We're visiting the movie show. And then we're expecting these to appear. And maybe it would be a good idea to look at our show page. And that makes sense. I don't see anything for any actors. Cool. So I think we could pretty quickly fix this by saying movie.actor. Well,
Actor.
do we have is it actors? Oh yeah, it's suggesting actors ages. That's the name of our method, right?
Yep.
Okay, and then we want to render, do we want to render both the name and the age to make it obvious to a person or to a user that they're ordered? Okay, so we can say actor name, and maybe we put a P tag here for their name.
A good idea.
Maybe not, maybe even just like, I don't know what makes sense. So tell me if you disagree, Kelly. I'm just throwing spaghetti on the page. So we have actors in this movie. Then we have an actor name, and then the number, I think, is what probably wouldn't make a lot of sense. So we could say age, a key tag, and then
the number.
Nothing jumps out at me here, but let's run the test to double check. What a relief.
Yes.
One example, 0 failures. We definitely ran on line 20. So we now are able to absolutely visit this show page, have the actor name appear, and also appear before whichever actor is older. Amazing.
Yep.
So now if we go to line 37, we do not find this text. And we can see that we're getting 30.0 for this here. And I saw somebody in chat say, I use round with an argument of 0. And I think I would be happy to just, if that's okay. And then that means in our show, what else do we need to put here to get this test to pass?
We're doing now. Let's run it again.
Okay, yeah, good point.
Since we've changed something. Expect page to have content, movie, average actor age. Still doing the 30.0.
Yeah, I think the benefit of adding the round to 0 would be if we had ages that did average out to a float, then they would also be showing up as 30.0 or you know, 42.0 or whatever it is. But I think the only thing maybe we're missing is, I'll label it for the sake of our viewers, our users, average age of actors in this movie. And then I do have a movie instance available, right? So I could say something like that is what I'm imagining.
Yep. That's what I would do.
Okay, let's run it. And I'm going to go ahead and run all the tests, see if we broke anything else in this process. Oh, undefined method round for nil class. Fantastic. So we're calling round on whatever is here.
Right.
Let's
take,
sorry, what?
No, go ahead.
I was going to say we could take this out for now to see if like maybe it would uncover a more helpful error, but we might also, I wanted to make sure that I didn't set up a bad variable here or something that would be giving us a nil movie.
Nil,
if this is nil, I wonder if it will give us a different error here that we can get more information from. So that's interesting.
Okay, so Okay.
How would you feel about doing like maybe a save and open page so we can get like our physical eyes on what Capybara is
I
seeing?
think we should do it.
We have it done throughout this whole review, so that might be a good thought exercise. I'm going to move this over. Okay, well, I think for our purposes, you know, with these ICs, we're always on a clock. So I think for our purposes, this looks pretty good. I'm comfortable leaving this as is and continuing on if you are, Kelly.
I am.
Let's do it. Okay, I think that means user story 2.
3. Oh yeah, 2 is done.
2 is done. Perfect.
Oh, we have Jacob has a question.
Yeah, I just had a question about where these methods are getting built. I built them in my actor model as class methods instead of in the movie model, and that's where all my tests went. So I thought about it as getting like all the actors' ages from the actors instead of through the movie. And I just wanted to see if this is convention doing this way or what.
Yeah. Any thoughts there, Kelly?
I'm sorry that I got distracted looking at the time. What did Jacob ask? Or okay, I didn't hear what Jacob asked. I'm sorry.
Maybe like, I think, Jacob, let me repeat the question back and I can make sure I understand what you're asking. So the way that you built this functionality was to create a method on the actor model. And I'll pull that up, and that would be like a class method that would order the actors by age, right? And then you could call that method on the actors that are associated with a particular movie. You could call that actor class method. Does that sound like what you did?
Yep, exactly.
I think, in my opinion, both of those ways are perfectly valid and would work fine and be conventional. Part of the reason I was suggesting an instance method for a movie is I already had the movie spec file open to write a test in. But I will say that to my brain, instance methods tend to make more sense to me. Like if I read a user story and I see, and it gets all the something for the something, I can assume I'm going to have an instance of that, whatever the second thing. So to me, it makes sense to do the scoping down of whatever associated collection by just using it as an instance method. I think you could do it either way, and that would be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. No problem. And glad to hear you you also follow my logic, Kelly. I think, either way is fine, but that's just how my brain works personally. And then let's see. So user story 3, I guess I should tidy up my screen here. Let's go to the README. And you've already been looking at this. So now we're adding an actor to a movie. I'm going to read it to myself and also get it copied to my clipboard.
So this one has a form as well.
I fill in the form with the name of an actor that exists in the database. That's logging that away. Cool. You do not have to test for a SAD path. So we only have to test that this works if the user does everything perfectly. That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And we are still on the movie show page. So do you feel good about pasting that user story in here?
I do.
It can add an actor to a movie. Comment that out, and then we'll take these out, I think, and I'll copy and paste my test setup.
So Gunnar said, I read this wrong and thought I was creating a whole new actor rather than an existing actor.
Yeah, I think that would be easy to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I also thought that first time I read it.
Yeah, I am a big fan of putting read the user story 2 or 3 times, maybe once out loud, maybe copy it down without literally copy and pasting, like type it out or write it out or something if it's particularly complicated, because so many times I have seen people read through a problem and then think they understand it and build something totally different from what we were actually asking. And I have also done that. So cool. So we are still on the show page. We have a form. So I think, Kelly, you were saying that we're going to need to first see that there's a form on the page.
Yeah.
So maybe we could say, I don't know, do you have a preference on how we could do that? My brain goes to just filling stuff in, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think filling stuff in.
And we want this to be name of an actor that exists in the database. So I think this could feasibly be called like actor name.
Mhm.
Another Harry Potter actor, Alan Rickman, right?
Yeah, Alan Rickman, yeah.
And then what else would we be doing here? Clicking on something?
Yeah, you need to click submit.
Okay, so click, I think it'll be a button by that point.
Yeah.
Submit, cool. And then what do we want to happen?
It needs to be redirected back to the movie show page.
Cool. So we want the current path equal this. Okay.
And then it needs to dynamically load the actor's name.
Cool. Does anybody have a way that we could make the actor name dynamic rather than me like typing in Alan Rickman?
That's actually a great point, though, is that it doesn't have to be dynamic in this case.
It's true. It's true. It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be.
Maybe we can come back to that in that case.
Yeah,
So
let's put that on our hard mode.
For sure. Cool.
Not that this isn't hard mode, but you know what I mean.
No, I love that. If we have extra time, we can return to some of these things and refactor. So expect Alan Rickman, or expect Paige to have content. Right. Cool. And I think that's all we really need for this feature test, right?
Yep, that's it.
Amazing. All right, I'm gonna run it.
The thing that I really like about testing is it does help me break down features in ways that are much more manageable than just, oh my gosh, I have to get this form up, and it has to.
I super agree. I think it can be difficult to like visualize, like abstractly think about all the things that have to happen for this feature to work. But when you have a test that's just saying, hey, I can fill out this form, you have a very clear path forward. So on that note, like it doesn't have a field called actor name. So I'm gonna hop over to the show page. And then I think I'll do another H3 just to orient us. Add an actor to this movie. Form with. Okay, what are we putting in this form?
Okay, we need to have the name of the actor.
Okay, so I already know I'm going to need a field. So I'll probably have some stuff here, like where it's going, and then do form. And I have a block variable for that field you mentioned, and I can say form label. This work?
Should work.
And then text field. And what value do we want in this text field?
So do we need to, because, okay, for the movie. So the form is actually on the movie show page, which means we don't need to have a field for the movie. So I'm just thinking through it.
You are good.
We don't need to have a field that has movie. Do we need to input their age or anything?
I don't think
It
so.
doesn't say to, yeah.
Yeah, and my reasoning is, so we know that this is going to be, we're looking up an actor that already exists in our database by name. And then we are adding them to the movie. And we know from our discussion earlier that like our only way of associating an actor in a movie is to create a new row on the joins table, right? And to your point, Kelly, we already have we actually have our movie instance variable that we can use for where we're posting to. I'm assuming this will be a post. By interpolating it here, we can do like something, something, and we're gonna need the movie ID there. So we'll have the movie ID, but we will need some information about the actors, and we can, and according to the user story, that should be name. So I wonder if we want this to be like actor name. Yeah, Gunnar.
I guess I figured this out later for the project, but yeah, would you want to form with URL like kind of have it as like a nested, so it'd be like you do it to the movies route of movie ID actors, and then send it to like the movie or like whatever your joins table is controller, and do it that way through your create method?
I love that idea. I think we should do that. So we would have, so to reiterate what you were saying, correct me if I miss anything here. We're doing a form with URL, and we're posting to a nested route of movies, and then we'll need the movie ID here. So we'll interpolate our instance variable. And then we'll say, hey, we're posting to actors that are specific to this movie. So that's what the nested route is doing here. And I don't know if we actually need this comma. I'm gonna fix my syntax highlighting. Okay. What do you think, Kelly? Anything to add to that? Or how do you feel about the name of this text field? What do you think?
I feel good enough.
All right, that's all we need. So we have a failure. Unable to find field actor name that is not disabled. So how would you debug this?
That's interesting. It's not disabled.
Maybe like a, if we wanted to get an eye on this page, well, we did a save and open page already. I wonder if we could run our, server and walk through this a little bit. Oh, but we're not going to have any records on our server, are we?
Oh, no.
That's a pain. Save and open page it is. Nope. I lied. There we go. And here's what it pulled up. So what is going on here? Anybody have ideas?
Try using the symbol from the label instead of the string from Brian.
Let's try it.
Yeah, let's try it. That's a good one.
I'm going to leave the save and open page. Just, you know, if it fails, we're going to want to see it anyway. We did get the same failure. It couldn't find actor name. I think I see the issue, but I'm curious if anybody else would agree with me or see what I'm seeing. Unable to find field actor name that is not disabled.
Anybody? Oh, Marla.
Oh, sorry, Brian.
Nope, that's fine.
I was just gonna say that name is lowercase.
Yep, I agree. I think that's what I was noticing. I think that might be it. So actor, I'm just going to put the string because that I know I can control the capitalization there, but I will keep the save and open page because who knows, that may or may not actually work. Unable to find. What did I? Oh, I tried to fill it in.
With that
I didn't read my error. Oops. And then I did switch it over here. So actually, we can keep, is it Brian's suggestion of being consistent with the symbol? And then it's my test, I should say, oh, fill in actor name. Okay, we're gonna take this out now. Fill in actor name with the lowercase second word in that phrase. Okay, so now we have unable to find button submit that's not disabled. And we do have save here instead of submit.
That's, yeah. Whoops.
Okay. I think we're getting close, everybody. Almost got it. Okay, now what should we do?
Okay. No route matches post, so we need to make sure that the route.
Yep, exactly. So carrying on with Gunnar's thought from earlier, we should probably post to this nested route of movies and be interested to hear your opinion about this, Kelly, but I like to, when I'm using nested routes, I like to be very specific about what ID I'm accessing with this
Yes.
dynamic segment.
Absolutely.
And I'll do it that way. Posting to movies, movie ID actors, we'll say to, and then I think the idea was the join table controller, which would be movie actors create, because what we're doing is we're posting to this and we're adding a new row in that table. So we've seen these errors before. I'm gonna try to speed through them a little bit if that's okay with everybody. Movie act. I'm gonna stick with what I have already. I think it's probably more conventional to say movies actors, but that's not what I typed. So I'm just gonna own it. Movie actors controller RD, and say movie class movie actors controller. It's from application controller. And we're going to need to create action. Nope. I'm going to kind of pause there to give us a chance to run our tests and follow the errors.
Right.
Interesting. So we're expecting current path to be the path where we filled out the form. And we want it to have some content, but we haven't added any logic for actually creating this new row. And we haven't added a redirect.
Let's see. Gunnar says, might need to send params of actor's name to the controller to find that specific actor.
Yep, very good point. And I think when we start thinking about like params and redirects and creating things, all of that seems like very good stuff to experiment with in a Pry session to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Kelly, if I'm just dropping into a action, what would be like the first piece of information you would want to get here in this Pry session? Anything in particular?
What do you think? Are you thinking like the actors?
Yeah, like if we're creating a movie actor, and we should probably see if we have any information about the actor available to us, right?
Right. So I was thinking the actor name.
I think if I do params here, I'm just going to look for the whole object, but I bet we'll have an actor name key value pair, and we do. Incredible. So if I were to do like an actor find by name params actor name, would that give me an instance of an actor? No. Find by name params actor name. So let me double check params name. Whoops. Okay. And you know what? I wonder, have we created this actor in the database already?
You know, I don't think we have.
You're right. Okay, so let's do that. And I know Alan Rickman is not 30, but I don't want to mess with our other method right now. So I'm just going to leave it. Actor
You
for
have to change his name. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Almost forgot. Actor for, so we have an Alan Rickman now. And I bet if I exit out of this Pry and I run that again and I try to find Alan Rickman in this Pry session, I bet now it'll work. Yes.
There we go.
All right, what would we do with this info?
By the way, we have about 6 minutes left.
Yeah, I think we're almost done.
Yep.
I'm gonna go ahead and take what we did in Pry and put this here while people think about what else we need to do. So actor.
That's good.
I'm gonna go ahead and get out of this prize session. We talked about needing a redirect. So after all this is done, we'll redirect to movies, and then we need the movie ID here. So that kind of tells me we're going to need to do something kind of like we did with actor.
Any suggestions or?
Let's see, what did we do? And I think if I've done this enough times to kind of have an idea of what we need, but I could always also go over to the movies controller and see how we found it here. So I think maybe that's what I'll do. Just copy and paste this over.
There really is a lot of reusable code sometimes in Rails that can be pretty useful.
That's true. The conventions can be a little bit of a pain when it comes to things like pluralization, but they serve a purpose.
They do.
So now maybe what the last step here would be to just create it, like do what we say we're doing. Movie actor, create, and then the movie actor is actor. The other thing we need here is movie ID for our redirect. But I'm pretty confident about this. You think we should run the test again at this point?
Let's run it.
Let's see. No, couldn't find movie without an ID.
Oh no.
What happened? All right, time for another try, I suppose.
Yeah, let's look for movie.
I did this to myself because it was my idea to be very specific about which ID we're looking for. By changing what we had as a dynamic segment in our routes. And I still think that's a good idea, because if it was just params ID and I was a new developer to this application, I could be in here and be like, what is ID? Is it like actor ID? Is it studio ID? It could be anything. So let's make that movie ID.
Yeah, I think that you're exactly correct. And I would rather someone be more specific, like too specific, than not specific enough.
Yeah, that's how I think too. We did it. Let's party, but first let's run all of our tests.
My party pineapple is ready.
Heck yeah. Gunnar, I see your hand.
Yeah, in the movie actor.create with the movie : movie, do you not have to put ID after movie? I'm guessing.
This is a very nifty thing about Active Record. If I did something like movie ID here, then yes, I am actually calling the name of the column or the foreign key, and I would have to give it that integer because this is an integer column. But because we have our Active Record associations set up, it will infer this because, yeah, for instance, movie actor belongs to movie, belongs to actor. So I can just pass it a whole object. And it's actually kind of cool that Rails will double check that, oh, I wonder if I can recreate this. It'll double check that you have the right type of object, not just like just the way that movie ID : movie.id would check that you're passing it an integer. This is also going to check that you're specifically passing it a movie for this column. So I wonder if I did like actor here and movie here, like what if I mix these up? I don't know if I can recreate this error, but I have seen it happen where if you pass the wrong type of Active Record object, yeah, it'll tell you this: association type mismatch. Movie expected got this actor object. So I think that's pretty cool. And that's one of the reasons I like to do it this way personally.
Sweet, awesome. That answers so many different questions. Thank you very much.
That's a great tip.
Any other questions? I realize it's 4 o'clock, so Kelly, if it's okay with you, I'm going to say everybody can hop off whenever.
Absolutely.
But I have some time to stick around for questions if you do. So Matt.
Would you mind going back to the view so that I can see the way the form was set up once more? I think I've had a tendency of just adding more things than I need. So I added local true, for example, and forgot about the whole default method being post. So it's just nice to see that it's short and sweet like that.
Yeah, totally. And I would bet money that if I had actors and movies and studios in my database right now, and I went to localhost and I tried to submit this form, it would not redirect. And not because we did anything wrong, but because, like you said, we didn't pass it a local true, so it just wouldn't know to like do the loop back address stuff and do a refresh or a redirect. As far as like the default method being post, I don't see any harm in going ahead and adding in method post, just to be very, very clear. But yeah, to your point, a form will default to posting.
Along those lines, could I see the route for that, please?
Mm-hmm. And if it helps, I can
Awesome.
put them side by side. Did anybody maybe accomplish user story 3 a different way? Still, you know, looking up an existing actor and creating a movie actor record or a join table record, but like with a different route or something. Yeah, Matt.
I was in the middle of implementing a search bar that would allow you to sort through a list of actors that was actually down below the thing. For that reason, I had to add section IDs in order to test effectively. But I figured that it would be, and I realized that this took me more time in the long run, that it would be more realistic to see the actual list of names of the actors that you would want to put in your movie instead of having to guess the perfect spelling of some of the more interesting names, for example, of actors that might already be in your database, but you'd also have to add the ability for partial searches and whatnot. So I never fully implemented it, but that was one of the solutions I was working on.
Yeah, I definitely, I see the value in having a more robust way of looking for an actor name that does already exist. It would be so much more user-friendly than what we're building in this IC, right? To have like a select drop-down or a search functionality, and that way you can be sure that the user knows what actors are available and knows, like, doesn't have to worry about spelling or anything like that. Yeah, I would describe that as a totally separate user story, but it's interesting to think about. That might make testing for and handling SAD paths a lot easier in the long run. Yeah. I could also see this maybe being done with a patch. So maybe there's a different URL that would patch movies, but I think that that would be less conventional and less restful, because at the end of the day, for this functionality, we do have to create a new movie actor. So this could be in a patch action under the movies controller, but I think it's more semantic and more clear to actually put it under a controller all of its own for the joins table. But if you did it with a patch, or if you're doing something similar with a patch to the, I don't want to say parent controller because it's a many-to-many, but like the first controller in this nested resource, I think that would also be fine. And I think that would be more conventional for like a one-to-many, and this would be much better because, yeah, if you're creating a movie actor, why not have a movie actor's controller with a create action? Just my 2 cents. And almost gave me a heart attack, so I'm going to run it and have my passing tests. Any other questions that I can answer? Any questions that Kelly can answer? Anything anybody did differently that they'd like to talk about?
Hey, I'm sorry, it's Brian. I raised my hand here.
Okay.
I guess it the way I did it, and just in case other people are wondering about another option, I just put it in the chat. But once I made the movie and the actor, rather than going through, which the syntax on yours is more readable from a developer side, but from an ease of use, once I have that actor, I just shoveled it into movie.actors and then did my redirect action.
That's what I did. I didn't use my join table controller at all. I just did everything through movies.
Gotcha. So it would be something like actors, and then like the new movie actor essentially would be shoveled into this associated.
Literally your actor variable there was what I shoveled in.
Got it. Oh yeah, that would work. Cool. This is also a fine syntax. Like you said, from a developer perspective, I find this more clear, but some people prefer this because it's just less typing and it communicates the same thing. It does the same thing behind the scenes. So that's great too.
For me, like where we are in our ability, like at least for me in my ability, I was afraid of messing up line 6's syntax and then following errors and The shovel for me made a lot of sense. I know movie.actors works, and I have an actor I'm trying to put into it. So
Totally. Yeah, that makes sense to me too. Cool. All right. Kelly, anything else that you think would be worth talking about before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I think that that's an interesting solution from Brian, though. I was just going through it in my mind.
Yeah, I have to think about it a little bit harder because I'm so used to the syntax and I find it
Me
more
too,
clear,
yeah.
but I see where you're coming from, Brian, because when you see movie.actors, you're already thinking, oh, this is like an array of this movie's actors. And if you've probably been using the shovel operator a lot in Ruby, I would guess, with the kinds of exercises and challenges you've had. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always forget about that syntax. I don't know. I think that we have a few things we could tidy up, refactor, improve, but like personally as an instructor, if Kelly and I submitted this, I think like if this was a submission that I got, I would be very impressed.
We pass.
We are doing great. All right.
Good enough.
Cool. Then I will call it here. Thank you to everybody who stayed a little bit late.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good one, y'all.
Don't forget to sign up for slots.
Should have mentioned that.
What's
Thank
that?
you for reminding
You already
us.
did mention. You already mentioned.
if you happen to solve the extension, if you wouldn't mind putting your code in the code help channel, I'd love to see. I think I got close, but I couldn't quite get there. So
Okay.
I'd love to see anybody's code that figured that out.
Cool. I would be willing to bet that somebody who's not on the call right now did figure out an extension. So if you want to like maybe post about it if you haven't already, I might have a solution around here somewhere that I can modify to make sense for this challenge, and I can thread something under it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. See y'all later.